Hello makers, and welcome to Stitchery. I'm Catherine Harris, and if you're new here, I do sewing and DIY tutorials each week, so don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below so you can tune in again. This week, I wanted to share with you a really quick make. It's the Valley Knit Skater Dress by Sinclair Patterns, and it is completely free. That's right, a free download. It's got a couple of different options and sleeve selections for you to choose from. I decided to do a tank style, and I decided to use the elastic that you would use on like lingerie or panties to hem this just so it holds nice and tight. And I used a merino smart wool fabric, which is why it's a little bit sheer than I'd like. I probably should have went with a darker color as opposed to this lighter color, but it still works. And it allows me to go out on some hikes and walks and not worry about the hot summer weather. And if it rains, it dries super quickly. So let's get into that tutorial.
Bum 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 ba-dum ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum ba-dum bum.
Start with the bodice of the dress. So we are going to place the front of our bodice along with the back of our bodice, and you'll notice mine has a center seam along the back. I just ran out of fabric, so I had to piece it together. And we're going to stitch along the shoulder seams. Now when we do this, we also want to ensure that we're stabilizing this shoulder seam so that it doesn't stretch out because it is a knit fabric. So I'm using some twill tape here, and I'm just going to stitch over that, just using a straight stitch on my sewing machine here. Now onto the skirt. So I've marked the areas where the pleats are going to be, and I'm just matching them together to create the box pleats. And so I'm just adding a pin right here so that I can then fold it out and create that box pleat. And then I pull out the pleat and I'll pin on either side of that. And that's how I get perfectly formed box pleats with the center being exactly in the middle. And I'm going to continue to do that on the other side for the other pleat. And then you're going to stay stitch that down so that it's held in place nicely. And when we go to attach it to the bodice. And then we are going to take the bodice pieces and we are going to attach the skirt front and the skirt back to each of the pieces. So on the corresponding pieces, we're just going to match them up. I'm using clips because I don't have ballpoint pins. And when you use sharp pins, they just don't go through the fabric as nicely. So the clips I find are really nice and handy here. So I'm just clipping that together, and then I'm going to stitch it together. I serged that at my serger. And so we've got the front and back. Now for the side seams. So I'm just matching up the waist seam here, marking that. And then we are going to stitch all the way along the side seam. So from the underarm all the way down the sides. Now this is also a good time to add in some pockets. If you're going to be adding in any pockets to your skirt. I did not have enough fabric, otherwise we all know there would be pockets in there. So take that over to your serger and serge that. Now on to the finishing touches. So I decided to put in like a panty elastic. So it's a fold over elastic, and I found that it just finishes it a little bit nicer, and it kind of tighten things in because I want to wear this dress when I'm doing some small day hikes and getting all sweaty and everything, and I want things to be able to fit nicely so that there's nothing pulling or gaping. So I'm just putting that on. If you want a better tutorial on how to do that, I do have a tutorial on how to make panties. I'll link that in the description down below and put it in a card up here. But basically, I just quarter the elastic and then I pin up to the areas where it corresponds in the quarters. And then when I'm at the sewing machine, I pull the elastic, but I do not pull the under fabric. So you got to have a good feel for that, but I find that that's the way it tends to work out best, and you get a nice even distribution with that elastic when you do it this way. So you can see I was just quartering that. And then we're going to stitch that on, and I'm just pinning it in place along the quarters. And going all the way around. So you want to do that along the armholes as well as the neck hole of the bodice. That way everything matches up. There's a bit of an overlap here along the shoulder seam just because the straps are a bit thin, but it still works nicely. And then you fold it over again, and then you're going to stitch it again, doing the exact same thing. So here it is all done. It's kind of crinkled up this way. There you have it, guys, your very own Valley Knit skater dress. And it's one that I would suggest making. It's a free pattern and it fits quite well, especially because it is using a stretch knit fabric. And I would definitely make this again, although in a darker color or maybe a different material. Though I do love my merino smart wool, especially in the summertime. What are your thoughts on this dress? And is there anything that you would change to the pattern? Let me know in the comments down below. Until next time, makers, let's get our Sew-Spiration on.